Welcome back to the Mental Performance Masterclass. My name is Nick Kleitch, and I'm the host of the show. And along with me, my co-host and owner of Lit Leadership and Performance, Scott Litter. Scott, how are we doing?
Doing great. Really excited. Got a great topic tonight. Really looking forward to discussing and getting into this topic. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Absolutely. And just as a quick reminder for folks, this podcast details and discusses mental performance, and we just concluded season 1 of Self Talk. We will be discussing and entering season 2 now, which is super exciting. That will be labeled as motivation and all things motivation. So just want to set the stage for y'all. But we do feel motivation is an element to mental performance along with just good performance in general. So we hope y'all can just kind of relax and sit tight and let us guide the way here. So the big thing, Scott, when we kind of got going on this is just really taking some notes on motivation. And it's a word that gets thrown around a lot. You know, people have heard it's external, it's internal, it's this, it's that. But if you wouldn't mind, what is motivation to you?
To me, motivation is the reason that you do something, right? It's a driving force behind your actions, the driving force behind what you do every day. And it's not something that's just useful for a high school athlete, for example. Every one of us has to get out of bed and go to work or take care of family or whatever it might be. We all need motivation every day. And so it's just so I think a lot of people know what they feel like when they feel motivated, but they have a hard time explaining it. But really simply, it's just the driving force or the reason that we do what we do.
Yeah, wonderful explanation there. And I want to take that definition for a moment, and I want everyone to just do a little bit of a mental image here. So think about a time when you were either very motivated or not motivated at all. We've all experienced both ends of the spectrum. And the reason that me and Scott wanted to get in here and do a season on motivation is I want you to understand that this is within your grasp. We want you to really kind of gather that you can internally determine when you are feeling motivated and when you're not feeling motivated. So I'm not going to give too much away because I know you're going to touch on some great things here coming up. But in terms of maybe motivation as an igniting tool or motivation as a feeling and how we can utilize it as a tactic, go ahead, Scott. I know we had some good notes prepared on this as well.
Well, motivation gets you started, right? If I want to lose some weight, for example, motivation will get me through that first day of eating healthy and maybe exercising, but it doesn't really keep you going, right? Discipline is what's going to keep you going. And I think of discipline as being disciplined enough to re-motivate yourself every day, to get out of bed again that next day and say, I'm going to eat healthy again, I'm going to exercise again, or I'm going to go back to work and do a great job again. And to put a string of great behaviors together over time, you need both. You need motivation and you need discipline. And so that's kind of how I think they're a partnership that really is important to really achieving any type of big goal in your life.
Yeah, and people can find motivation in various places, right? It could be a podcast, it could be a clip online, it could be some music. And I love how you brought up self-discipline because a lot of times it gets looked at as maybe two different things. Okay, I have to be self-disciplined. I don't need motivation or motivation's bullshit. Then there's another camp. Hey, motivation is what gets you going every single time. And then self-discipline is what keeps you going. And what we want to kind of make clear and what we think is the right answer here is it's kind of a two-sided coin. It's a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. We can become motivated to then rely on our self-discipline, or we can use self-discipline to make sure we're motivated. So any other comments on that? I'd love to continue the conversation on that.
No, I think that's a great way to explain it. They really do work together and you need to have both to. And again, I think any goal that's really worth working for and putting time into, you need both. You're not going to get there without motivation. You're not going to get there without discipline. So learning how to use those together is really a key,
yeah.
I think.
Now I'm going to just do a little bit of a deeper layer here on these two things. And the back half of the episode is going to be very action packed. So we're excited to get there. But when we think about self-discipline, so self-discipline is disregarding your feelings to being able to accomplish a task. Generally, this is part of a plan that you're on. Most people throw it around like, hey, I need to be self-disciplined in my finances. I need to be self-disciplined to progress in my career or get my work done, right? So we're taking the feeling out, whether we're feeling good or whether we're feeling bad, and we're relying on our ability to get things done. On the other hand, motivation is a feeling. And this is why we thought it'd be so important to have both of them together, because sometimes that good feeling can get you into or over, the hump in terms of letting your self-discipline go. And so we have to be careful, right? When we're not feeling motivated, we still have to use our self-discipline to accomplish the task. But this is why we frame it as an igniting tool, because we can find what motivates us, and we'll get into that. Or again, tools like music or a podcast to be able to kind of change that mood. Once we can change the mood, we can have a little bit more self-discipline or rely on being more self-disciplined. And we've said it multiple times, but those two go back and forth. So don't necessarily think of the war between motivation and self-discipline. Maybe reframe to know that both of them can exist. We just have to know that feelings are temporary. So which one do we need to pick, and which one is most effective for you right now? Kind of a short-term, long-term peanut butter and jelly sandwich. So love the kind of ground floor we laid there. So what is motivation? How self-discipline comes in there? It's a great igniting tool. We're going to present something today from a book that we have both read, but I'm really going to let you dive into this, Scott. So for those that have never really thought about motivation or understood what makes it up and how you tick, this is going to be something that I really encourage you to kind of listen into. So I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, great, Nick. And I think before I actually start talking about the book, I want to make sure we understand that motivation is a skill. It's something you can learn how to do. I think some people just think, oh yeah, he or she's a motivated person. So-and-so is not a motivated person. We're not born motivated. We are all born motivated. Actually, we're born motivated to learn how to talk, learn how to walk, right? Learn how to crawl. That comes natural as a baby. And we are able to learn to motivate ourselves. And everybody's motivated a little differently, I think. It's very personal. Different music might get you pumped up and motivated to do something. A certain quote might make somebody else motivated. One thing I use with a lot of the athletes I coach is think about some type of positive moment in your life. Maybe it's performing really well at a big competition. Maybe as a musician, it's playing that perfect song at the concert. It can also be thinking about something not so positive, some type of pain. And these are motivation buttons. And we're going to do a whole episode on that, season 2, coming up next. So I don't want to get too far into that, but learning how to motivate yourself, realize that that's a skill. Now, the book. I'll hold up the book. It's not a new book. It's an older book. It's by Daniel Pink. It's called Drive. The subtitle is The Surprising Truth About What Motivates Us. Great book. If you haven't read it, I highly encourage it. A lot of us think carrots and sticks are the motivators, right? I know right now there's some stuff going on in Iowa with legislation looking at, for example, paying teachers more based on grades that they're learning by their students. That would be a carrot, right? To throw out more money if the kids can perform better. Well, this book, Drive, really talks about how carrots and sticks are limited. They're really limited in how they can motivate us. The 3 things that the research shows that really motivate people intrinsically long-term are autonomy, mastery, and purpose. So I'd like to talk about each of those just a little bit. Anything you want to add before I dive into those 3 things, Nick?
Well, it's a very exciting 3-piece segment here. So again, when you break it down, I just invite anyone to kind of listen in. But the piece you had mentioned beforehand about motivation being a skill, these other things will kind of allow us to know where to thread that skill set as we understand what internally motivates us. That's the only thing I wanted to mention, but let's dive in.
I mean, just think about the work world. If you go to work and you have to be there at a certain time, you have to leave at a certain time, and you don't have many choices throughout your workday, you're probably not going to be as motivated as the person that gets to choose their hours. Hey, maybe I want to work from 6 to 3, and somebody else wants to work 9 to 5, and somebody else wants to work late on a Thursday so they can take half a Friday off. Those of you that have experienced those types of workplaces know that it's motivating, know that it's much more enjoyable to work in a place where you have some self-control over what you do. Other examples, of course, I come from the teaching world. I've seen a lot of English teachers, instead of making everybody read the exact same book, They let the kids maybe choose from 3 or 4 books and then report on that specific book. A lot of teachers nowadays will give kids choices on how they demonstrate their learning, right? One person may take a paper pencil test. Somebody else might want to give a speech. Somebody else might want to create a YouTube video. Somebody else might want to design a poster. But when we give people options to how they perform and demonstrate their learning, and whether it's work or school, track coaches, maybe you give your athletes an opportunity to, hey, we're going to run either 10 800s or we can do 18 400s today, right? Given some options is always going to be more motivated than trying to shove a specific way down someone's throat.
Yeah, and the word that really comes to mind here as a synonym for autonomy is the word freedom. And I think that might be mentioned in the book. I can't quite remember 100%, but when people have the freedom to be able to choose how they go about their business, especially in work, that just is a pressure's off kind of thing. It's like, well, yeah, if I don't have to be there at 8, I can get there whenever I want, knowing I have the ability to get my work done as I need to. You're going to naturally feel way more free to produce more, more creatively and more instinctually. So that's a synonym I like to throw out with autonomy, is the freedom to kind of go about your business like you'd want to.
Yeah, I think freedom's a great word to match with that. And the second one's mastery. Think about if you've ever done something where you feel like you're stuck and you don't feel like you can get better. You feel like you're stuck and you don't see the improvement you want to see. It's frustrating. It's not motivating. Now think about something where you get a little better and the next day you get a little better and you feel yourself getting better and better and better and better. It could be playing the guitar. It could be a job. It could be a sport. It could be public speaking. But when you feel yourself getting better and better and better, that momentum starts swelling, and pretty soon you're more motivated than ever. And so mastery, that this concept of getting better and better and better, is a huge piece of self-motivation for people.
Yeah, and to build on that, I wrote down progress, but I think I'm going to change my iteration here live. I think whether it is in your career or developing other skill sets that might correspond with your vision of what you're trying to do, maybe we spend a little bit of time learning the back office side of things, then we get into the front office side of things. But the point is, and mastery overall, is the ability to continually learn and continually get better. When we have that availability or feel that, because we are talking a little bit about motivation and feeling, we're way more engaged. As a former recruiter, one of the main things that perked people's interest about looking at a new opportunity, let's say, really came down to boredom. They were simply just bored. They had been doing a role for, let's say, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and they had got to the point where they were not committed to mastery. They're not allowing themselves to progress. Now, that could have a lot of different factors to go into that, but the point being, boredom is the opposite end of the pursuit of mastery. So if there's any other comments you have, that was the only thing I was going to throw in there.
No, I think that's a great point. I think that's a great point, and I think I can go into the third area is purpose. And many have maybe have heard of Simon Sinek's book Start with Why, and that's what he's really talking about. What's your purpose? And I can tell you, and I just turned 58 last week, and I'm a retired teacher, retired educator, and I am more motivated than I ever have been in my lifetime. And I've been pretty motivated as a coach and a teacher over the years, but I've never been more motivated than I am right now. And I think it's because at some point, um, I've really figured out what my purpose is here on this earth. And my purpose, I feel like, is to love and serve the other people around me. And it's rooted in my faith, but it gets me out of bed every day. I never have a hard time getting out of bed. I am ready to go. If I know I'm going to, especially on days where I know I'm going to be able to serve somebody else. And today was one of those days. I've been excited for today for several days because I knew that I was going to help fulfill my purpose. And if you think about that, when you know your purpose, it's so much easier to be motivated and just to get excited about what you're going to do. And so I think,
Yeah,
go ahead, Nick.
purpose is a heavy hitter, and this is one where we might have to. This isn't necessarily me like sneak peeking a preview episode, but we might have to do one of those on purpose itself because it is a very potentially hard thing to kind of figure out. But the thing I loved about your purpose when we were catching up before the episode is that is what's most meaningful to you. So if you're listening here and let's say you have some autonomy in the workplace, you are getting better, I'd invite you to really dig into that, whether that's through prayer, self-reflection of different jobs that you've done, anything that can really mean a lot to you, I think is where we can really begin with purpose. And if we're thinking about these three, I like to think of it a little bit like a pyramid. If you can have the purpose and the foundation laid, the other two are obviously extremely nice to have and will help you remain motivated and self-disciplined. But
Mhm.
when you can really understand yourself and your purpose, I think it takes things to a whole nother level.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And I want to throw in a quote from John Maxwell. Some of you may know who John Maxwell is. He's written, I think, around 90 books, much of them on leadership. But his quote, I hope I get this right, the two most important days in your life are the day you were born and the day that you realize why you were born. And so think about that. I believe that 100%.
Yeah.
And so you've got to figure out for yourself why you're born. You can't use my purpose, as you said earlier, though.
Yes, I think that quote though, and I'm going to have you repeat it one more time, just as a nice concluding note for us here, really just invites you to, at the very least, now have a podcast that you can understand what motivation is, understand why and how we use it with self-discipline. And now you've been introduced to maybe what drives us, but yeah, take some time to really kind of dig into that a little bit, and it could be the game changer that you need to end this year stronger, to begin 2026 on a really good note. So go ahead, Scott, and repeat that quote one more time, and then we'll get wrapped up.
So John Maxwell says the two most important days in your life are number one, the day you were born, and number two, the reason you realize why you were born.
Wonderful. Well, thank you all for tuning in to the first episode of season 2 motivation of the Mental Performance Masterclass. We really hope that you guys enjoyed, and until next time.